Hello, and welcome to the Playworms. Today we should be looking at the movie 7. At the start of the movie, Detective Mills begins working with Somerset, who will retire in a week. When Mills and Somerset arrive at the scene, an obese man is lying dead at the table. When they notice that his legs and hands are tied with barbed wire, Somerset meticulously continues to examine the body. Somerset tells Detective Mills to do the neighbors while he works. Later, as they drive, Mills expresses his dissatisfaction that Somerset had ordered him to go door to door. According to the forensic examination, it is proven that the obese man was force-fed and died of overeating when the killer kicked him in the stomach and it burst. Somerset says that the obese man was fed for 12 hours. The captain expresses his doubts. He just believes that someone wanted to torture the fat man. Somerset also thinks that this is not a good first assignment for Mills, who in turn is disappointed since it is not his first. The captain agrees with Somerset and reassigns Mills. Tuesday. Mills is not particularly amused in the morning when the building is flooded with reporters. An infamous defense attorney is murdered. Greed is written on the carpet, and his wife's picture has glasses painted on it. Somerset's name is already being scrubbed from his door when the captain enters and informs him of the recent murder in which greed was written in blood. He does not want Somerset to retire. He's too good at his job for that. He also says that plastic parts were found in the corpse of the fat man, which were fed to him. He returns to the first crime scene, and upon further investigation. On the wall behind refrigerator, there's a note from the killer. Next to the word gluttony is written grease. Somerset thus proves that this is only the beginning, for there are 7 deadly sins. Gluttony, greed, sloth, wrath, pride, lust, and envy. At night he visits the library and looks for books on the 7 deadly sins, while Mills takes a closer look at the photos of the crime scenes. At dawn, he leaves a letter with clues on Mills' desk. Wednesday. Mills moves into Somerset's office, and the two will work side by side until Somerset retires. Somerset and Mills talk about the case. Mills hands him a picture of a scale with a pound of flesh that the defense attorney had to cut off of himself, and a note the killer had left. They are stumped as to how the killer got in and out without leaving any evidence. That's when Mills points out that the picture of the attorney's wife had glasses drawn on it. Somerset believes she either saw something or did not have the opportunity to do so yet, but this is their clue. Together, they go to the attorney's wife and ask her about anything she notices about the pictures that is strange or out of place. She realizes that the painting in her husband's office is upside down. After meticulously examining the painting, they find nothing. But then Somerset finds fingerprints on the wall where it was hung. After contacting the fingerprint lab, they're shocked to see that the fingerprints are arranged as text. Help me! Thursday. There's a match on the finks, but according to Somerset, it's not their suspect. Accompanied by a SWAT team, they break into the apartment of the man whose fingerprints matched. He's the 3rd victim, strapped to his own bed. When the detectives look at the photos the killer took, they find out that the man has been lying there for an entire year, perfectly representing the sin of sloth. On closer inspection, it turns out that he is still alive. Unfortunately, it is not possible to question the victim because his brain is all mush and he had chewed off his tongue long ago. According to the doctor, he must have been in all kinds of pain until his arrival at the hospital. Back in the office, Mills is restless, worried about all the people out there. Somerset does not think the killer is crazy. Mills says something about a library card, which gives Somerset an idea. They visit the library, thinking that the killer must have read one of these books. Somerset writes down the names of all of them on the 7 deadly sins. They find one name that stands out. John Doe! They notice a man standing with groceries in hand, who suddenly pulls out a gun and starts shooting. No one is hurt, but a chase ensues inside and outside the building. Mills does the best he can to follow. Eventually, the suspect manages to knock Mills down and flees the scene. Back at Doe's door, Mills is so angry that he breaks down the door. Mills hires a bum to tell the officers that she found the guy suspicious and called the detectives. The detectives take a walk through his apartment. It's dark, but there's a whole lot to see. Somerset even finds spaghetti in cans and a hand used for fingerprints in a glass shelf. The last shelf contains a portrait of a woman. Mills discovers several photos of victims while Somerset reads the killer's diaries and is suddenly called out by his partner. It turns out that the news photographer was their serial killer. Suddenly, Dew's phone rings. It is the suspect himself. He affirms his admiration for law enforcement agents and even apologizes to Mill for hurting him during the chase. Because of these events, he had to move up his schedule and assures them that they're in for a surprise. Saturday, the detectives get a tip from in some shop and get a photo of something they're ordered to be custom made. That's when they get word that a killing has occurred, and they head to the next crime scene. It's the sin of lust. The blonde is dead and a man is sitting, hysterical. At the station, Somerset talks to the man found at the scene. He says that Doe forced him to do it at gunpoint. At the bar, the detectives talk about how to catch the killer. Sunday, the detectives arrive at their next crime scene. It is a sin of pride. The woman had two choices: call for help and be disfigured, or take the pills and get out of her misery. On the way back to their office, Somerset says he wants to stay on duty for a few more days until they catch the killer. Or if Doe gets to the seventh sin, this case will probably never be solved. While the two are in the precinct, John Doe follows them, catches the detective's attention. Teller speaks calmly with blood smeared on his shirt, while Mills shouts at him and makes him get on the ground. While the suspect is talking to his lawyer, the detectives argue about his reasons to turn himself in. They never found fingerprints because he had cut off his finger skin. He has no employment history or bank records. The only thing they know about Doe is that he is wealthy and well-educated. Doe's lawyer negotiates with law enforcement officials. There are 2 more hidden bodies. Doe agrees to take them to the bodies at 6 p.m., but only with the detectives because he admires them. The car in which 3 of them are driving is escorted by a helicopter. During the ride, Mills and Somerset talk with Doe. Somerset tries to find out more about Doe, but he says it's irrelevant. Doe loses his temper for the first time when Mills believes that the victims were innocent. In his eyes, people tolerate the deadly sins because of their triviality. He hopes that he can change this aspect with his example. In Mills' eyes, he is delusional. Doe says they will be remembered, and the only reason he is here is because he wanted to be caught. The only reason Mills is here is because he spared his life, and Doe wants him to remember that for the rest of his life. The only one who actually remains calm, at least outwardly, is Somerset. According to Doe, they arrived at their destination. There is almost nothing there except high voltage towers, a broken car, and an old trailer. Because of the power lines, the helicopters cannot follow them into the area. Mills gets Doe out of the car, handcuffed, and leads the armored detectives into the field. At 7 a.m., a van appears suddenly. Somerset runs to intercept it. The van stops and the driver gets out of it. He is a delivery guy and brings a package for Detective Mills. Somerset sends the driver away. He's not sure about it at first, but then he opens the box with his knife and is frightened by the contents. Just starts talking about his aberration for Mills again. For his simple life and his pretty wife, Tracy. Mills is confused. Doe admits that he visited Tracy this morning and tried to play husband. It did not work, so he took her head as a souvenir. Meanwhile, Somerset runs back to them and shouts to Mills to throw away his gun, who is still confused and wants to know what's going on and what's in the box. Doe admits that he too is a sinner and is envy of Mills' ordinary life. Mills is angry but continues to doubt Doe's words. Somerset explains that Doe's intention is to be killed by Mills. Dad wants Mills to seek vengeance on him, become the sin of wrath. Doe further upsets him, saying that his wife begged for her life and the life of their baby. Mills begins to cry, still with the gun in his hand. It turns out that Mills didn't know his wife was pregnant. Somerset asks for the gun again, explaining that Doe can only win if Mills shoots him. In a moment of despair and anger, Mills shoots Doe. More than once, ultimately completing Doe's master plan. Mills sits in the back of a police car. The captain says he will be taken care of. Well, here's our today's recap. Consider sharing the video and subscribe to our channel to support our work.